Hi folks, Buffin here with your Antifa News Briefa for December 15th, 2021. This is about the Environmental Protection Agency being sued by environmental groups. Some news that's actually from a few days ago or even a week ago, but enhanced by some news that I heard about or a report I heard about just a couple days ago. So wanted to go ahead and report on this here, especially in light of the tornadoes that happened around the USA. 30 tornadoes in 6 states, unprecedented length of tornadoes. One of them was 300 miles long, lots of destruction, and rest in peace to all the victims of the tornadoes, and blessings to all the families and survivors of all that devastation. It's the Republicans, Trump's, Putin's, oil companies' fault. It's been their fault. All these storms and fires that are way bigger than they used to be. It's all global warming, and it's all the fault of people who have known about it but keep lying because it's their business. The oil companies and all the politicians on their side, and too many Democrats as well. I don't mean to just single out Trump and the Republicans, but because of course Manchin, for coal and stuff. It's all their fault. They're murderers once again in this situation, and they'll be murderers again in the next situation. And so are the people who support them. Like, you're all part of a terrorist network. You're terrorist supporters. You're terrorizing humanity and the planet, and you're murderers. You keep murdering people. You've been doing it with the Trump virus genocide too. But this climate catastrophe is threatening to kill all of us, and has been, still is, gets worse every day. We're never doing enough to reverse it, but that's what we need to do, and that's where this lawsuit comes in. They determined that the EPA assessment of greenhouse gases coming from landfills was underreported by maybe 25%, or it wasn't accounting for about 25%, or maybe it was only accounting for 25%. Basically, the information we've been going on hasn't been sufficient enough, and so they're suing them to get them to update their standards, which maybe they've even already updated their standards. They just haven't gone by the updated standards yet. So it's all this like slowness of government to do anything to stop corporations when we need all the speed we can get, full reverse on climate change and against these corporations. We need to just go green as fast as possible. And we keep getting more and stronger evidence and warnings and punishments for not doing this, but we are also getting what we asked for, getting what we ordered by continuing down this fossil fuel path. And we all know this. Trolls will argue about it or whatever, but they're evil and they're murderers and they're terrorists. And they shouldn't really be allowed to argue, honestly, because of the crimes they've already committed. People with far less crimes are prevented from using the internet or having their freedom. So why not these trolls, including political leaders and corporate leaders? They're still getting around to criminalizing ecocide, but they're getting to it. And of course, we're getting more examples of why we need those types of crimes on the books in some type of country. So you can start, since it's a global crime, you can start holding them accountable in whatever country gets those laws first. Maybe a reason why we need revolutionary action to get better governments that can prosecute these types of laws. Bernie could do it. He was talking about it. And maybe that's why they're so afraid of him, that they keep wanting to rig the election against us. We need to cut all that out. But back to the lawsuit. They're suing the EPA for misreporting, underreporting. And so that's come out somewhat in the news. But, the sad thing is, what it points to is, even though we're not doing enough to stop the climate change that we know about, they're not letting us know how bad it is, or we're not even calculating how bad it really is, because all of these things are skirting under the radar. And that's the second report that I heard about on, I think, Colorado Public Radio or KGNU, that in Colorado, we have all these, I guess, lesser oil wells or something, oil and gas wells that they drill for them, because that individual well has been determined to be under a certain level of environmental impact, supposedly. Again, maybe those metrics are faulty, but again, under a certain level, they don't have to scrutinize it. They don't have to include it in the environmental impact assessments. And apparently we have tens of thousands of these wells. So each one is producing a good bit of harm to the environment, but they're not registering it. And we have tens of thousands of them. That cumulative effect is a huge harm to the environment, but they're not registering it. They're not accounting for it in their models. So as bad as it already seems, and as bad as we can start to see evidence of it and not having winter anymore in places, sea levels rising, threatening to wash whole countries away, and now these big storms, or more of these big storms and droughts and stuff that lead to big fires, the more of it we see, the more impetus we have to do something about it, motivation we have to do something about it. But that this lawsuit is a piece of news in that direction, but we're going to need so much more, so much faster, because of the nature of what it's exposing. And what, thankfully, to all these people who have been working on these projects, thank you all so much, because you're the only reason we even hear about this. Thank you to KGNU and Colorado Public Radio, if it was you guys, but to any media that's actually reporting on this stuff honestly, instead of trying to both sides it and let the corporate interests have their say when we're all living with their say and dying because of their say. We need the voices of life, of the people, of the water protectors, of everybody who's working to stop this. And we'll do it, or we'll all be dead. So if anybody can even watch this in the future, you'll know it's thanks to, the people, the concerned citizens, the world, defeating the machine in this instance. So good job to the people doing the lawsuits. Good job to the people who are keeping tabs on this stuff, watching the people who are supposed to be watching stuff for us and aren't doing a good enough job. And let's end it. Let's end the fascism that's allowing war and pollution and poverty to continue, because they're all tied up together. War and racism and poverty. It's all the triple evils. And we can end them all together. And we have to work together to end them all. But more Antifa News Briefa on another legal subject, the Myanmar genocide of the Rohingya people, because they're suing Facebook for $180 billion, the refugees are. And hopefully they win. If there's any justice, they'll win, and we'll nationalize Facebook and turn all this stuff around. But thanks for watching and sharing and commenting, and see you soon. Hopefully, we'll all see each other for many years into the future. But again, only if we save the planet. So let's do that. Thanks. See you soon. Love you forever.